Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we are blessed to be reading Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam. Grant in Sanskrit, of course, means book. Raj means king of books. So this Bhagavatam is the king of all scriptures because it describes the Param Gatim, the very goal of life, to go back home, back to Godhead, to Goloka Vrindavan.
हरे कृष्ण महाराज के प्रवचन का हिंदी अनुवाद बाहर हो रहा है तो जिनको हिंदी में सुनने बाहर जाइए हरे कृष्ण.
We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 16, Text 57. King Chittaketu meets the Lord. Yad etad vishrutam pumsho madbhavam binam atmana tata shamshara etasya vedad deho mriter mritim yadetad vishmatim pumsho madbhavam binamatmanaha tatasham shara etasya deha deho miter miti yadetad vishmatim pumsho madbhavam binam atmanaha tata samsara etasya deha deho mitermiti yadeta vishvatam pumsho vadbhavam bhinam atmanaha tatatam samsara etasya deha deho miti. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. When a living entity thinking himself different from me forgets his spiritual identity of qualitative oneness with me in eternity, knowledge, and bliss, his material conditioned life begins. In other words, instead of identifying his interest with mine, he becomes interested in his bodily expansions, like his wife, children, and material possessions. In this way, by the influence of his actions, one body comes from another, and after death, another death takes place. Report. Generally, the Mayavadi philosophers or persons influenced by Mayavad philosophers think themselves as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the cause of their conditioned life, as stated by the Vaishnava poet Jagadananda Pandit in his Prema Vivarta. Krishna Bahir Mukhahana Bhoga Vanchahare Nikatashta Mayatari Japatir Dari. As soon as a living entity forgets his constitutional position and endeavors to become one with the Supreme, his conditional life begins. The conception that the Brahman, Supreme Brahman, and living entity are equal, not only in quality but also in quantity, is the cause of conditioned life. If one forgets the difference between the Supreme Lord and the living entity, his conditional life begins. Conditional life means giving up one body to accept another and undergoing death to accept death again. The Mayavadi philosopher teaches the philosophy of Tat Tvamasmi, or saying, you are the same God, you are the same as God. He forgets that Tat Tvam Asi applies in terms of the marginal position of the living entity, who is like sunshine. There is heat and light in the sun, and there is heat and light in the sunshine, and thus they are qualitatively one. But one should not forget that the sunshine means Sunshine rests on the sun. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. I am the original source of Brahman. The sunshine is important because of the presence of the sun globe. It is not that the sun globe is important because of the all-pervasiveness of the sunshine. Forgetfulness and understanding of this fact is called Maya. Maya. Because of forgetfulness of one's constitutional position and that of the Supreme Lord, one comes into Maya, or samsara, conditional life. In this regard, Madhvacharya says, when one thinks that the living entity is non-different in all respects from the Supreme Lord, there is no doubt that he is in ignorance. Tamas. Omagyan Timidandasya Ginangana Shalakaya Chaksunamilitam Janatasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Vishnam Apitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Sva Dadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Om Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna So, the subject this morning is actually about Maya in her different forms. Srila Prabhupada more or less concludes his illustrious purpose by writing forgetfulness and misunderstanding of this fact is called Maya. Because the forgetfulness of one's constitutional position and that of the Supreme Lord, one comes into Maya, under the control of Maya, samsara, conditioned life. So we're all aware of Maya. You could say that Maya is our opposition. We have an opposition. Maya is, maybe we could go so far as to say Maya, illusion, is our enemy. Ooh. But of course, we must understand that Maya, or illusion, works under the direction of the Supreme Personality of God. It doesn't exist separately. It's an energy of Krishna. In fact, Mahamaya is an expansion of Yogamaya. Yogamaya, the Purnavasi, who in the spiritual world causes devotees in Goloka, the Brajavasis, to forget that Krishna is God. Why would the Brajavasis want to forget that Krishna is God? Because if they knew that Krishna was God, Aishvarya Bhava, it would simply be master-servant relationship. But Yogamaya causes the Brajavasis to forget by her mercy that Krishna is God, so they can wrestle with Krishna, they can dance with Krishna, they can take prasadam with Krishna. Krishna allows himself to associate with them in a more intimate way. That must be a very powerful energy, Yogamaya, that the Nitya Siddhas, the eternally liberated souls, forget something. But it's all kripa, it's all mercy. So that same Yogamaya appears in the material world as Mahamaya. Same energy, just little works in a different way. So we can understand how powerful she is there. If she can bewilder the Brajavasis, how much more she can bewilder us, fallen conditioned souls, actually. But as Mahamaya in the material world, her thankless task is to keep conditioned souls here in the material world up until they're sincere about going back home, back to Godhead. She keeps us under her grips until we call out to Krishna, "Oh my dear Lord, I'm drowning in the fathomless whirlpool of material existence. O you who give shelter to the shelterless, please, won't you just this one time extend your hand to save me? This is a beautiful prayer by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Padyavali. And at some point in their sojourn through material existence, we've been here a long time, Prabhu, billions and billions and godzillions of lives. At some point, everyone must come to that point of understanding it's all a useless endeavor. It's a world of duality. Heat and cold, black and white, young and old, yes and no, happiness and distress. You can't be perfectly happy. So at one point we have no other alternative than to cry out to God, help! And when Maya Devi sees that we're sincere about going back to Godhead, she starts to remove the curtain of illusion. And gradually we come to see things as they are. What are things as they are? Jiver Supoya Krishnara Nityadas, to begin with. We're not the bodies, we're the spirit souls. We come to realize there's a supreme soul, Aham Savasya Pabhavo Matta Sarvam Bhavartate, from which all matter and spirit comes. And as we make more progress, we understand we have an intimate relationship with that supreme creator. He's the father of all living entities. Krishna says in Gita, he makes it very clear who he is. He's the seed-giving father of all created beings. Not just human beings, but all 8,400,000 species of life, who may temporarily be enshrined in a cockroach body, or an ant body, or a bee body, or a demigod body. We're all eternal parts and parcels of the Lord. He's the Father. So if we all have the same Father, what does it mean? We're all brothers and sisters. This is the peace formula. The world is in great need of peace, but it doesn't come by diplomacy and big, important meetings and war. And no, peace comes by realizing we're all one spiritual family. You may have an argument with your brother or sister, but it never gets down to blows. So we have the panacea, we have the solution to all the bickering and fighting and war that's going on in the world, because we understand we're all brothers and sisters. So when one starts to get this vision, Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmadiga Vihastini Sunichava Sapakicha Pandita Samadarshana, a truly learned person, Darshana, who sees things as they are. He sees equally a learned and gentle Brahmana, Hoshti, an elephant, a dog, and even dog eater. These realizations come as a result of practicing devotional service, under the guidance of Krishna's representative. These things all become very clear to us. So as we serve Krishna, and Maya sees our sincerity, the Krishna becomes our number one concern. Not just one of the things we do in life, but it becomes our heartbeat. Boom, 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 boom. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. She begins to open up the curtain of illusion. Just like one time Prabhupada was walking on the beach, in a beach in California, Stinson Beach. I know that beach very well. I was born very near there. And the waves were crashing. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. Big waves on the beach. So it was a morning walk, and Prabhupada, he said to his disciples, "What's that sound? What's that sound?" So one disciple said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, that's the sound of the waves breaking on the beach." Prabhupada said, "No, that's the sound of the gopis' heartbeat. and separation from Krishna. Vipralambha bhav. That's the sound of the gopis' heartbeats. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. Rupa Goswami says, just as young girls are attracted to young boys are attracted to young girls with the same intensity, my Lord. Let me be attracted in a transcendental way to your lotus feet. It's all about, falling out of love, falling out of love with the material world and into love with Krishna and everything connected to him. Tadaya. That's the process. It's just an exchange. Taking our love away from this world and giving it to Krishna, who deserves it. So when Maya Devi, she's watching, she's seeing this devotee is very sincere. I'm going to pull back the curtain of my illusion gradually, 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 gradually. So just to make sure, she sometimes tests the devotee. You're making nice progress. Maybe you're a candidate for going back home, back to Godhead. She'll see, you may be a new devotee, but she sees you're a candidate. Just like I often see the youth of our movement. I can see sometimes in the young boys and girls, this one's really sincere. They've taken up devotional service with all sincerity from 5 years or 6 years. You see it in children sometimes. They don't have to be told to chant japa. They love to chant prayers. Isn't it? Prabhupada said one time, the demigods are lining up in Svargaloka to take birth in this ISKCON movement. There may be many great souls sitting amongst us today. So, just to make sure that, our intention is very pure. Sometimes Maya tests us a little bit. Just like if we want to know if a Shalagram Shila is a real Shalagram Shila, what you do is you take a piece of gold and you rub it across the Shalagram Shila. And if it takes the gold, if there's a gold mark, it means the Shalagram from Kaligandaki River in Nepal. If it's a fake Shalagram Shila, because online there's rascals selling Shalagram Shilas and sometimes they're fake, you take the gold ring, there's no mark. So sometimes Maya just wants to test us. Do you really want to go back to Godhead? Or is it just kind of a passing phase in your life? She doesn't want any unqualified persons to go back to Godhead and disturb the leelas of Krishna with material desires. That's not there. In the spiritual world, Amala Bhakti, it's only pure devotional service. It's not about me, Krishna. It's all about you. It's not about me. It's all about you and your pure devotees. So if there's a tinge of selfishness there, I, me, and mine, I want to get something out of this, no, you have to wait. You can stay in Svargaloka and elevate yourself gradually from there. So sometimes she'll send a little test, some temptation. Out you go for the temptation. Oh, what a nonsense I was. I didn't offer that food. I became overcome by, my tongue, and I just bought it and didn't offer it and ate it. Or some material desire will come to your mind and you'll think about it for a while. She's tempting you. So as aspiring transcendentalists, we have to always be on guard against Maya. She can appear at any time in many forms of temptation. So when she attacks, we have to be ready. We can't be tempted. We actually have to see the world through the eyes of Shastra, so we know how to see things properly. Just like Chanaka Pandit has said, an animal sees a beautiful woman as food, the tiger. Sees a lady working in the fields, this is a nice meal for me. A lusty man, he sees a woman as an object of sense enjoyment. Naughty, naughty. But a sadhu, he sees the same woman, not as a meal, not as an object of his sense gratification, but as mata. He respects the woman. A man sees all women except his wife as mother, and mothers are to be highly respected, because without mothers, none of us would be here. And he addresses her as such, Mataji. But Maya is trying to get in between to really test us. She may strike with great force when we least expect it. Therefore, when temptation comes, and we all, let's be frank here, we're not crying in ecstasy. Sometimes some temptation comes. But we just have to say no to our mind. Mind can be the best friend or the worst enemy. If mind is thinking of Krishna, mind is best friend. But if Maya is thinking of sense enjoyment in its variety of ways, our mind is rascal. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, every day when you wake up, you have to beat your mind with a broom. And before going to sleep, you beat your mind with a shoe, you rascal mind, for contemplating things adverse to devotional service. Stop. We just have to say no. These desires may come. Don't be embarrassed, the desires may come. The remnants of our past conditioning over many lifetimes. Prabhupada gave the analogy, just like sometimes you're on a lake, you're on a lake, on a boat, and you see little bubbles come up from the mud. Isn't it? Little bubbles come up from the mud, and they come up to the surface. So in the same way, deep within our heart, there may be some remnants of sense gratification. They come to mind. So what do? No. We say in Russian, нет. I do a lot of preaching in Russian-speaking countries. Нет. No. They may come because of past conditioning. So when they come, no. Just like in the 1990s in my country, America, there was a huge surge of drug addiction in the country amongst the youth. It just exploded. There were new drugs coming up, chemical drugs. You take it, whoa. So there were drug dealers even selling drugs outside of grade school, secondary schools, and universities. So the government started a campaign to stop this. And they had a slogan, for the students, appealing to the youth. But if someone approached them with drugs outside the school, the slogan was, just say no. It's a good title for this class. Just say no. That was the slogan of the campaign. So in the same way, when Maya tempts us, we should learn, we should practice. Niet, okay, that's Russian. C'est pas possible en français. Just say no. And be ready at every moment. Never let your guard down. Like in boxing, when you box, you don't box like this. Because the solar plexus is one point that your opponent can hit and knock you out. He can hit you behind the ear and knock you out. He can hit you in the throat and knock you out. He can hit you in the solar plexus and hit you out. He can hit you in the kidneys and knock you out. How do I know? Because I was born on the wrong side of the tracks. And we had rough and tumble life. We sometimes had fist fights, so dirty fighting. Anyway, that's my old me. Don't think me like that. Now I'm very peaceful. Om Shanti, Om Shanti. And my father taught me, to survive on the streets. He said, don't fight like this, you fight like this. You protect your face and you protect your solar plexus. You fight like this. Boys, let's try. No, don't say. So in the same way, we have to protect ourselves against Maya. This isn't going to work with Maya. We have to be very strict. She generally doesn't approach strict devotees. She doesn't have much success. So what does strict mean? No meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and gambling. There used to be a song in America in the 50s. Don't make promises you can't keep. This is a bubble coming up from my past into my brain. Don't make promises you can't keep. We promise. And by sticking to that promise, Balaram, Rama means he who gives us spiritual strength to resist the temptation of Maya. Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Prabhupada installed Krishna Balaram in the center of our altar in Vrindavan. Balaram's so important, he gives us spiritual strength. And then when Maya strikes, no problem. But be prepared. It's not that, I think Maya's going to come on Sunday, the 24th of May, 2026. She attacks when you least expect it. In the middle of your japa. In the middle of your japa, sometimes an illicit thought comes. She can strike any time. You can be walking down the street. Ta-ta. Ooh, she's pretty. This is a very frank class. Oh, he's handsome. You walk past the store with the Bengali sweets. Yum, 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 yum. Or suddenly we think critically of a devotee. Criticism. Cause a fall down. To think critically, to criticize Vaishnavas. So, be on guard at all times. Just like the ninjas. You know ninjas in here? The Japanese warriors from the past, they almost had mystic powers. They dressed in black and they would go to assassinate somebody and they could climb the wall and go in the window and jump out and fly to the next building. Ninjas. They're very popular. Romanticizing. Young boys want to be ninjas. But actually ninjas were real. In Japan, some centuries ago, they were used by the kings for against their enemies. So I was reading, ninja warriors were trained to defend themselves at any moment. At any moment, the opposition may come. You have to protect yourself or protect your master or your king. So as part of their training, this is really interesting. As part of their training at night, when all the ninja students were in their beds sleeping, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, the ninja master, the instructor, would come with a big bamboo stick. And while they were sleeping, he would stand over a trainee, take that stick, boom, down on the head of the student. And the student had to be so, you could say, aware that danger could come at any moment. He would wake up by the sound of the swoosh before the stick hit his head. Wow. Can you brahmacharis do that? If I come here tonight with a big stick and sneak in it, I'm not a ninja. I'm a brahmachari. Yeah? The ninjas were trained. So we have to be like that. Prepared for Maya's strike at any moment. Never let our guard down. And what's the best way to always be protected? It's given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kirtaniyat Sarahari. Or as Prabhupada paraphrased it, if you've got time, chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Mantras are very powerful. There's various types of mantras for various purposes, but the Maha Mantra fulfills the purpose of all mantras. Ultimately, we chant, of course, for developing love of God, but the potency is there. So chanting will also protect you. It's like an armor. Like one time Prabhupada was in Los Angeles and he was chanting in his room with a few disciples upstairs in the temple. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. Prabhupada chant like that. And he finished the 16 rounds, so he took his bead bag, put it on the table. He said, now I can do any damn thing I want. It's not improper language. Prabhupada was just coining. What he meant to say was by chanting his rounds, now he can do anything and Maya won't affect him. Because the mantra is like armor. Just like soon we're going to open the temple in Ayodhya. Jai Sri Ram! Jai Sri Ram! Jai Sri Ram! Death to Ravana! No? Death to Ravana! Thank you. Just like in Ramayana, we read how when Sita, Ram, and Lakshman were in the forest, Ravana wanted to kidnap Sita, so his plan was to get Ram and Lakshman away from Sita, so he sent Marichi in the form of a golden deer, very beautiful, prancing, golden deer, effulgent, near to where they were camping out. So Sita, the pastime is, she became attracted to this cute little deer. I want Ram, go get the deer for me, to play with the deer. So Ram is like, really, Sita? Yes, I want the deer. So Ram went to catch the deer, who was actually an asura, in the form of a deer, Marichi. So when Ram left, then Marichi, in the form of the deer, called out in Ram's voice. It wasn't Ram, but called out in Ram's voice, Lakshman, come help me! So Lakshman's, what? So Sita said, your brother's calling, go. But Lakshman understood. He said, I think this is a trick of the asuras. No, it's not. Your brother's calling you. You should go. No, Sita, believe me. It's the work of the asuras. So the pastime unfolded. It's all part of the plan. Sita said, no. You just want to take the opportunity to enjoy with me. Lakshman said, I would never do that. Yes, you don't want to go and save Ram because you want to enjoy with me. Lakshman said, Maya, mother, I never looked at you above your ankles. So great is our Vedic culture. Let's not lose our culture. Let's not lose our tradition by imitating Western countries. He said, Maya, I've never looked above your ankles. Chastity is there in men as much as it is in women. It's a noble quality. Anyway, she said, go. So she's goddess of fortune. Go. So Lakshman left. But before he left, he took his sword and he made a circle around Sita, chanting mantra, protective mantras. And he left. You know the rest of the story, past time. So then Ravana. Now Ram's gone, now Lakshman is gone, so he came disguised as a beggar, a sadhu begging, madhukari, and he came with his bowl. Oh dear lady, please, can I have some fruit? Because there was some fruit there. So she was a little hesitant, Oh, please, He tried to come closer, but when he came into the the aura of that mantra, he was burned. His skin started to burn. The mantra was so powerful. Here's an asura who conquered the 14 worlds, who the demigods were serving as his feet, as if they were lotus feet. Narada Muni was a foot servant of Ravana. Sometimes devotees have to go through these temporary situations in this world to be very tolerant. Big, powerful, 10-headed serpent conquered the devatas, but he can't come close to a fair-skinned princess with soft feet and flowing hair and innocent, and how can she protect herself? Anywhere he went. So finally, somehow the pastime evolves for various reasons. She stepped outside of the mantra, outside of that force. Immediately he grabbed her and took her to Lanka. So the mantra protected her against Ravana. This mantra can also protect you against Ravana. Ravana's name, translated in Sanskrit, can mean he who terrorizes the universe. He who terrorizes the universe, Ravana. So we're terrorized also by our own material desires. There's the saying, I am my own worst enemy. I am my own worst enemy. When I'm pointing my finger at someone for criticizing them, I'm pointing 3 fingers to myself. We shouldn't be hard on others and easy on ourselves. We should be hard on ourselves and easy on others as Vaishnavas, compassionate. But this mantra, it will protect them. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Protected mantra. Actually, Ravana, even though it appears he captured a Sita Devi, he couldn't enjoy with her, despite all his power and his various opulences, prestige and fame, because when he was a young man, he violated, I'm not going to go into detail, he violated a young girl who was the daughter of a great sage. So when the sage came to learn that this young boy, teenager, Ravana, had violated his daughter, he cursed Ravana. He said, because you have violated my pure, chaste daughter, if you ever try to enjoy a woman against her will, your head will split into 10,000 pieces. Your head will explode, make a great movie. Like a bomb going off. So Ravana couldn't enjoy Sita. Anyway, the real Sita was taken by Agni, the god of fire, and kept at a safe place. And he only captured illusory Sita. But that we'll speak more about. On the day when they inaugurate the temple of Ram in Ayodhya, it's a few days away, right? Jai Sri Ram! Jai Sri Ram! Jai Sri Ram! Death to Ravana! Ah, very good voice. So our position is similar as long as we're chanting sincerely. We're chanting sincerely. We're pronouncing all the syllables, 32 syllables properly. One time my godbrother, Pusta Krishna, he was Prabhupada's secretary. He was chanting with Prabhupada japa, and he was Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Prabhupada said, what nonsense you're chanting? He said, it's not Ram, it's Rama. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. I don't hear you say. Does it say Ram? It says Rama. And when Prabhupada would chant, because the tape we have of Prabhupada chanting, it was an initiation ceremony, and things had to go quickly. Prabhupada was chanting very quickly. But if you listen very carefully, you'll hear the Rama. So if we chant like that, all the 32 syllables consciously, from the heart means calling out to Krishna in desperation. Oh my Lord, oh energy of the Lord, Ladini Shakti Siradhika, please pick me up from this world of death and fix me as an atom at your lotus feet. Give me seva. Please, please, please. In fact, one time, a devotee asked Prabhupada, 75 or so, the perennial question, Prabhupada, what does this Maha Mantra mean? So that particular occasion, sometimes Prabhupada would open up and reveal his intimate nature. He said, What does it mean, this Maha Mantra? What's the translation? He said, it means, my friend, my friend, my friend. Shri Prabhupada ki. So I like to think like that. Not that I think I'm anywhere qualified to be a friend, but I'm like a caterpillar. What's a caterpillar? Ugly little insects with 36 legs. But he wants to be beautiful, attain his liberated stage. So he has a change of heart. We have to have a change of heart. Not I, me, and mine, but Krishna, 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 Krishna. Or even more poignantly, Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. So he weaves a cocoon and he goes in the cocoon, and he goes through a metamorphosis, and in a few months, the cocoon opens and he becomes a beautiful, colorful butterfly, so different than the caterpillar, and he floats and he flies away. So we want to go through this metamorphosis of being a fallen, conditioned, selfish, sinful soul to become a pure-hearted Vaishnava whose interest is to please Hari, Guru, and Vaishnava. That's all. Just Hari, Guru, and Vaishnava. To become like the butterfly. So what is our cocoon? Our sadhana. 4 Vigata principles. 16 rounds a day, or more. Or more. That's the minimum. One of my god sisters, she sat before Prabhupada at her initiation. He said, what are the 4 regulations? She gave them. Then he said, how many rounds will you chant? She said, Srila Prabhupada, I'll chant a minimum of 16 rounds a day. So on that occasion, Prabhupada gave an instruction. When the Guru gives an instruction to one, it's meant for all. He said to her, he leaned over, kind of scared her. He said, why a minimum? Why not more rounds? More rounds of chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So good sadhaka, it's devotional service and practice. We're just practicing what Brajavasis do. What do Brajavasis, what does Mother Yashoda do when she wakes up in the morning? She wakes up Krishna. She bathes him, she dresses him, she feeds him, and sends him off to play with his friends. In a nutshell. Of course, it's all done with Amala Bhakti, pure devotion. We're doing the same thing. We get up in the morning, we wake up our deities, we bathe our deities, we dress our deities, and then we speak about their daily activities in Vrindavan or Mayapur or Jagannath Puri. We're doing the same thing that the Brajavasis do, but without the realization, without the bhav, without the devotion, without the heartbeat of the gopis. And by practicing, we get that same bhav. This is devotional service in practice. They're doing devotional service on like Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous or beyond, Prem Bhakti. We're trying to imitate them because imitation is the highest form of flattery. We love the Brajavasis. We want to follow in their footsteps. We want to go to their abode. We want to play with Krishna in his playground. That's our heartbeat. That's the goal of our life. Everything else is relatively important. But in the back of our mind, we're always thinking, when am I going to reach the shores of Vaikuntha, of Goloka? This is how a Vaishnava thinks. I have my body, I have my family, I have my business, I have my country, I have my earth. Let's make it a better place. Let's clean up the environment. That's okay. We don't have to live like cats and dogs. We can live nicely. But that's not the goal of life. The goal of life is, when you die, your tongue is decorated with the most beautiful thing in creation. Shri Krishna's sweet holy names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Or some Krishna conscious, something Krishna conscious. And then you transfer. Just like my dear godmother, Kadamba Kandana. Maharaj. Everyone knows him now. He left this world some months ago. Kadamba Kanana. Very nice sannyasi. Dedicated Sankirtan devotee. Excellent preacher. His kirtans were legendary. So death was approaching. He had cancer. Actually, we had cancer at the same time through the years. We both I had prostate cancer at one time, and I had a very dangerous melanoma skin cancer. And doctors didn't think I was going to live. And I made it, by Krishna's grace. But we used to talk about it. We were in the hospital together and talk about our cancer, and hoping that we can, survive it. If not, we'll serve Prabhupada in some other place. We talked like that. But it came in his transcendental destiny that he had to leave. Prabhupada was calling him for some other service. That's how I see it, somewhere else. So he's on his deathbed, conscious, very weak, could hardly speak. Very weak, but Krishna conscious, because he'd practiced. Practice makes perfect. If you don't practice, don't expect a perfect result. This is serious business, Krishna consciousness. It's a serious business. So when he died, he was laying on his side, and his last word was, mission. The mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to spread the Sankirtan movement to every town and village. Isn't that wonderful? His lips was the mission. So certainly Srila Prabhupada placed him in a significant place for the mission, or more than likely took him home. Because Prabhupada wanted us to preach this mission with great vigor and enthusiasm and spiritual strength. But he also wanted each one of us to become pure devotees. We stress, and I also stress, the preaching. Distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. Open Namhada centers, open kitchens. But at the same time, Prabhupada wanted us to become pure to the point where, oh Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears were flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, Krishna. That we want to achieve. That we achieve by good sadhana and powerful preaching. But remember, that goal is there. Prabhupada will be very proud of us if we become pure and we can serve him there as we serve him here. We want the relationship to be eternal. So be good sadhakas and good preachers, just like Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya, Shyamananda Pandit, the first generation, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this planet. They continued the preaching. Narottam Das was a fantastic preacher. You read his life history. But inside he was Rasik Bhakta. He knew all the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. He meditated upon them. He prayed for their mercy. So these two responsibilities we have. So that chanting will be our shelter, and it will be our deliverance back home, back to Godhead. We may be new to Krishna consciousness, we may not be very strong yet, but we can survive if we know where to take shelter. The idea being that the weak can be saved by taking shelter of the strong. We have many strengths. Our chanting's a strength, our hearing of Shastras is a strength, our association is a strength. Our worship of the deity is a strength. Our taking prasadam is a strength. We don't eat to, we don't live to eat, we eat to live, to be inspired in Krishna. We respect prasadam. These are our strengths, and by that, if Maya comes, we can say, ha, 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 I'd rather chant Hare Krishna, go away. Don't be nervous. Don't be afraid if you're not fixed up yet. It's like the crabs on the beach. One time Prabhupada was walking on a beach in Juhu, and there were crabs on the beach. And as the devotees approached the crabs, they went, whoop! You know how crabs go? They go sideways. It's really funny. Whoop! They went into the water. So Prabhupada said to Sri Damodar Goswami, why have the crabs gone into the water? So being a scientist, he said, Srila Prabhupada, when we step on the sand, the vibration of our feet goes like electricity through the molecules, I don't know exactly how he explained it, to the crab, and in the brain of the crab, in the C fibers of the brain of the crab, a message comes, get out of here. So Prabhupada went, he said, no, they realize they're very weak and vulnerable, and danger is coming, so they take shelter in the great. They're very small, but they take shelter in the great, and they're protected. So we're very small, we're aspiring devotees. Many of you, again, may be very advanced, but we're small and we need protection. So where do we find protection? It's right before your eyes. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. So take shelter of these holy names. Take shelter of each other. And always be aware. Remember the ninjas. You can romanticize. You can be a ninja. Like in my country, the little boys have, I'm a ninja t-shirts, or sweaters. I'm a ninja. Be a ninja warrior, and be aware that Maya can strike at any time. One time, I was in the room, Prabhupada said to one of my godbrothers, he said, Kulashekar, the problem with you is you're not afraid of Maya. You're not afraid of Maya. Maya, she can be so tricky. Even to an intelligent person, she can be tricky. Just like in the very first verse of the Bhagavatam, Bhuyanti yat suraya tejuvari midam yata vinimayo. By him, Krishna, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Even the demigods, they can be tricked. What to speak of little you and me? I've got a PhD. Well, you're not, Indra or Vayu or Brahma. Brahma ran after his daughter at one point. Maya can be very tricky. She's the supreme magician of this world. In European history, we have Houdini. I don't know if you've heard of Houdini. Or we have David Copperfield. These guys, even today, they can put on these shows that just boggle your mind. How did they do that? It's nothing compared to what Maya can do. I'll conclude, because I know you have to go to work. Oh no, it's Saturday. I won't take too much more of your time, but there's a real life story that's just totally amazing. Are you ready to hear it? You're not too tired? I'm not putting you to sleep? No? Okay. Jai Sri Ram! Jai Sri Ram! Jai Sri Ram! Just to Ravana! So this is a true story. I have access to a number of libraries in India, in which I use to prepare my classes on Vrindavan. I've been giving classes on Vrindavan since the beginning of the pandemic, just on Vrindavan. The places, the personalities, the pastimes. We're up to 465 lectures now on my YouTube channel. I'm not trying to advertise, but just to say. And we printed a book, actually, with the first of those lectures. It's called The Sacred Forest of Vrindavan. Here we go. This is the book. I'm supposed to advertise it at the end, but it just came up. This is a book about Braj. During those 3 years of lockdown, I sat in a room and read as many scriptures as I could, and related the pastimes of Vrindavan, the personalities, the mood, the bhav, the process of becoming Brajbasis. There's 400 lectures, and my disciples have compiled the first 20 of those lectures in this book called The Sacred Forest of Vrindavan. It's like part 1. It's called The Western Bank of the Jamuna. And it's very nicely printed. You can see the paper here. Many quotes from scripture. It's like you could say a Parikrama guidebook. If you go to Braj and you don't know where to go or what's there, you don't, Dinabandhu Prabhu, my dear godbrother, is busy with Parikrama somewhere. You just take this book and you open it up, and every single holy place, practically, that we, not all of course, but the major and the minor ones, are coming out in these books. This is the first one. The Sacred Forest. It's full of so much transcendental emotion because we discussed the acharyas and how they lived in Vrindavan, what was their way of living, and etc., etc. If you can't go to Vrindavan, in your own home, you can take a magical mystery tour just by reading this book. You'll feel like you're in Vrindavan. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur said one time, one day I woke up and saw my house had been transformed into Goloka Vrindavan. So after class, I'm going to sit somewhere here, and we bought 100 books for all of you. If you'd like, it's actually a service to you. I'm not trying to make money or anything. I'm nobody. Somebody else could have done this better than me, but I did my best. And I'll sit there, and if you purchase a book today, this is big green page, and I'll write a dedication and a signature. You can just write your name up here, I'll copy it, then you can keep this book. It's just so nice. You can be very close to Vrindavan, which is really meant to be our real home. So that'll be available after the class. But I don't know how I got sidetracked to that. But anyway, this is a real life story to show how powerful Maya can actually be and how we have to really be good sadhakas. And I found this, I know why, because I often go to the research centers, the Vrindavan Research Institute in Vrindavan. There's 38,000 scriptures there to verify the pastimes there and find new pastimes for this book. It's amazing. So in one of the historical books I was reading, it was written by the scribes of one very famous king in Bengal. So one year it came to his wife's birthday, the queen. And the royalty, they have a lot of money and facilities. So the king wanted to celebrate the birthday of the queen in a big, big way. So an invitation was sent out to thousands and thousands and thousands of subjects. And they built a special palace just out of marble, just for this one occasion. It could fit 5,000 people, and others could see from the distance because it was all open. And all the ministers came, and the close household servants and respected guests from around Bengal. True story. So on the day of the Queen's birthday, there were different celebrations, but everybody was really waiting for the magic show. Because everyone, don't say you don't, everyone likes magic shows. So there was a magic show by, the king had heard that there was a very famous magician living in some village in Bengal. So the king invited him to come. So this will be very prestigious because, all VIPs are here and the subjects are here. Please come and do a magic show for my wife. So the time came in the day around noon or something, then the magician, he walked in and he came with his wife and his couple of sons, and he came with one son and one daughter. And they were going to do a magic show. They were doing all kinds of things, whatever magicians were doing. And the queen was so impressed. She took off her big diamond necklace, and gave her to her servant and said, "Go give it to the magician. This is a wonderful magic show. I've seen things my eyes would never imagine to see." So the servant took and gave the necklace to the magician. But the magician's wife became jealous. She said, I'm a woman, that necklace should be for me. So, little husband and wife, husbands and wives, sometimes there's an argument like that, right? He said, no, Davy, no, he gave it to me. She said, no, you should give it to me because I'm your wife. You're my Patian. I'm your wife. I'm your Davy. No, I'm not going to give it. What do you mean you're not going to give it? I'm not going to give it. Look how valuable it is. I planned this magic show. It's practically over now. I get it. No, you don't. Yes, I do. And push turned to shove. Push turned to, and very bad words were said. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, when you say some things to people, it really irritates them, right? And she was saying some really nasty things to her husband in front of this royal assembly. So she said in public, I hate you! He said, what's happening to the magic show? Everyone's watching. They had a few more acts. People are getting nervous, like this fight going on between husband and wife. So the magician said, I hate you too. And she took a swing at him. She was a village girl. She was really, boom, and in that moment of insanity, stuff happens, right? The magician took out his sword and took a swipe at her. Is the kitchen near here? You can smell the chutney. And cut off her head. He cut off the head of his wife in public. And you know how the artery veins, the blood was spurting everywhere, going out. People were screaming. And the head was rolling, a little inclined in the temple. The head was rolling. So the daughter of the magician, she took a dagger and stabbed her father in the heart. And the magician fell dead. So then the son, he took a rope, which they used in their performances, and he strangled his sister. Then he took the dagger and killed himself. I read this all by the scribes. It was a bloody mess. There was gore everywhere, and it was like a river of blood. Everyone was screaming. You couldn't even see the diamond necklace, which was covered with blood. And the queen, oh, it was a horrible day. And she ran away, and her servants ran away, and the king ran away, and everyone left within a half hour. There was nothing there, just the gore. And the king said to his wife, what was that? He promised me the best show on earth. He promised me the best magic show on earth. And look what happened. Don't worry, there's always a nice conclusion to every Krishna conscious story. So, some months passed and people tried to forget this horrible, horrible drama that took place. And then one day, a courier came with a letter, a nice handwritten letter. Remember those days when you got a handwritten letter, how much it meant to you? Now you get a WhatsApp. So impersonal. Society is becoming so impersonal. A letter came for the king. He was going through his mail and he opened up that letter. He said, it began, Your Royal Highness, me and my family would like to thank you for the opportunity to put on the greatest show on earth several months ago with our magic show. And he's thinking, is this some fictitious writer here? Is this some ghost writing this? And the letter went on, you may remember we promised you the best show, so we gave you the best show. Actually, that was our top act. But I didn't really kill my wife, and my son didn't really kill me. My daughter didn't really kill him and take her life. It was all magic. So we still have the diamond necklace, but you promised us much more than that. Please send your payment to this address by next Thursday. This is a true story. I mean, you know, the magicians, we have magicians, here in India you have amazing magicians. If a magician can do something like that, how much Maya can bewilder us? So chant, chant, chant. Of course, we're not just chanting for protection, are we? We're chanting for the higher purpose. Chanting, Chetodarpana Marjanam, frees the body of all sinful reactions. It also uproots the material desires which bring forth those sinful reactions. That's necessary to have a good foundation for practicing Krishna consciousness. But the real goal is pure devotional service. That's why we chant. And if you get that taste of higher devotional service, if you get that taste of a little drop of nectar in the form of, you know, Chanakya Pandit says you can only give up something if you get something better. So you can give up Maya and all her entreaties if you get the higher taste of Krishna consciousness by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare. There's nothing in Maya's little black bag that can attract you if you have that higher taste. So chanting is the be-all and end-all of our existence. Chanting brought us to this movement. Chanting maintains us in this movement, and chanting will deliver us to the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna eventually. Have that faith. It's been demonstrated by great sages throughout the eons of time. So, when Maya approaches a pure devotee, what does he do? He just laughs and says, "Go away, I've got the real nectar here in my beads. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare." You will get the higher taste, but you have to work for it. It will come. And that will be your real protection. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat. He has a commentary in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Adikanda, chapter 16, verse 21, in his purport, he reveals that by this higher taste from chanting, everything will come. He writes, "The holy names of Krishna are the bestowers of all spiritual benedictions and are non-different from Krishna, the embodiment of all transcendental mellows. Simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna, one relishes the transcendental mellows related with Krishna. There is no possibility of relishing the transcendental mellows related with Krishna by any other process. Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevalam. Kulo nasteva, 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 gatiranyatha." All glories to the holy name. Actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati narrowed our vision down. Eke Kudunandana. What's our real work? He was commenting on the Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita. And he wrote, "In the teachings of Sriman Mahaprabhu, there are only two principal instructions. Develop a taste for chanting the holy names and display compassion for the fallen conditioned souls." So the conclusion of this lecture is, it's very nice. Chant, chant, chant. We can finish with a nice verse, how that prema will come, how important it is to us, this Maha Mantra. It's our most valuable possession. And we hear in the 8th chapter of Harinam Chintamani, the great pioneer of this Krishna conscious movement, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's addressing us here today in the following words of how important this chanting is for protection and for deliverance and for prema. He writes, "The holy name is the purest form of knowledge. It is the best of all vratas or vows And it is the highest meditation. It is auspicious fruit. It is the greatest renunciation. It is a matchless spiritual activity. It is the most pious of all holy works. It is the supreme path of self-realization. It offers the greatest liberation and the greatest goal. It is the topmost destination. It is the best devotional service, the most purifying agent. It gives love of God and is the essence of remembrance of Radha and Krishna. It is the cause of all causes, the supreme absolute truth. It is the most worshipable object and acts as the supreme guide and spiritual master. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Yut Prem Dan Harinam Sankirtan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Jai Jai Sri Radhe, Jai Jai Sri Radhe, Jai Jai Sri Radhe. Shine, my friend, my friend, my friend. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I'm going to sit here and sign books. Get a book.